We know that Clark Kent has been off on Warworld, kind of leaving Jon Kent in charge of the protection of Earth as its own Superman, as he's kind of freeing slaves from Mongol and the war zones and everything that's going on there. We know that story has to end at some time. Now, it's certainly hinted at in Future State that after this, Clark Kent would just go away and he wouldn't come back. And it's even hinted at during the beginning stages of Phillip Kennedy Johnson when he was writing Superman and Action Comics that Superman Clark Kent wasn't coming back. We knew that wasn't going to be the case. And we finally know when Clark Kent is returning to Earth. It's going to be in September. The timing is weird because we got Dark Crisis and he's supposed to be dead. And I don't even want to get into that. But hey, Clark Kent is returning to Earth. And it sounds like they're going to do a big crossover thing to kind of maybe rehabilitate, rejuvenate interest in not only Superman, Son of Kal-El, but Action Comics. I don't think the move of Clark Kent off of Earth to cede power to Jon Kent and to let him ascend up has really been beneficial for either characters or either titles. It doesn't look like that in the sales. And I think this is an interesting idea if they can get it over, but they definitely have a lot of things working against them. Let's get right into the news coming out about Superman returning to Earth in September. Superman finally returns to Earth and Metropolis, setting up a crossover storyline with Metropolis's other Superman, his son Jon, through November. But after Superman Warworld Apocalypse #1, a 56-page one-shot by Johnson and artist Brandon Peterson and Will Conrad wraps up the extended storyline on August 30 and features the final battle between Superman and Mongol and between the Authority and Mongol's unmade champions. I think this is an interesting approach. It sounds like they decided to combine two comic books that were going to be the end into one, give it a #1 issue on it, and hopefully rejuvenate some interest in Action Comics. It's kind of dropped out of the top 100. It's really shocking when you think about it. And it's not because of the quality, because I will tell you that the story by Phillip Kennedy Johnson with Superman on Warworld freeing slaves is absolutely fantastic. It's executed at a very high level. The Ricardo Federici art has been fantastic. Before that, you had Daniel Sampry. And it's been just really good, but it just hasn't resonated with people. For some reason, DC readers just weren't ready or excited about World War Hulk happening for Superman on Warworld. It just didn't work out. The sales have plummeted, and the sales in Superman, Son of Kal-El really haven't done all that well either. They kind of fell off a cliff after having a really big rebound after the global news about Jon Kent came out. This is something I think comic book retailers can probably sell to customers saying, hey, I know you fell off Action Comics, maybe you fell off Superman, but they're going to do a big crossover thing. This is the final arc of a story that has been pretty good. Action Comics has been good. If you get excited about this, maybe you want to come in and sample the goods in the new direction for Superman, Son of Kal-El, as well as Action Comics. Writer Phillip Kennedy Johnson said, Superman Warworld Apocalypse is everything we've been building to with the Warworld Saga, with the final battle between Superman and Mongol, between the Authority and the Unmade, and the long-awaited reveal of the real mastermind in the shadows. There are some frankly shocking moments in this issue and some huge reveals that will have long-lasting repercussions in the DC universe. When I hear long-lasting repercussions in the DC universe, I think it's going to be affecting Justice League and Batman and Superman and all that stuff. I kind of doubt that. This is obviously dealing mostly with Superman and characters from the Authority and some things kind of around there that were, I guess, in that orbit. I don't see a lot of those characters really affecting anything other than Clark Kent himself. We know the big reveal is there is a member of the Authority that is actively working with Mongol to undercut Superman and the rest of the Authority's efforts on Warworld. They're aiding the war zone, and there's going to be some betrayal and whatnot. I imagine that's kind of what Phillip Kennedy Johnson is referencing there, and I don't blame him for maybe overselling that a little bit. And if I were in his shoes, I would definitely want people to know that I was proud of the work that I did, that we're going to get a really exciting conclusion, and maybe just, I don't know, a little hyperbole on there to maybe overstate the actual impacts of this. Obviously, this happening during DC Dark Crisis is really strange. Superman's supposed to be dead. The entire Justice League really is dead at the moment. You know, Barry Allen's lost, and Hal Jordan's, I think he's about to be dead, but it really takes the sting off of all the stuff they're trying to do in Dark Crisis and then do a storyline like this and an epic conclusion. And you're like, what's the point? I know Superman's going to die shortly in the future kind of thing. I think DC really missed the mark on Dark Crisis and the execution, but I have really been enjoying the Action Comics Warworld Saga from Phillip Kennedy Johnson. We've been recommending it here on the channel for quite some time. So I do hope people jump in on this and get to see the conclusion, because I do think they'll enjoy it. And there's a chance they might enjoy this crossover as well. So let's get into some of those details. Following the special, Superman will return to Earth in Kal-El Returns, a 6-part crossover storyline between Johnson's Action Comics 1047 and 1049 and writer Tom Taylor's Superman Son of Kal-El 16 through 18. Johnson and DC are calling the storyline nothing less than the beginning of a new era of Superman, introducing new characters to his mythology. One of the things I'm really surprised about the information we're getting about this Kal-El Returns crossover story arc between Superman Son of Kal-El and Action Comics is they are only prioritizing Action Comics and the Warworld Saga conclusion to kind of hype up this crossover event. This thing has not been publicized or marketed really at all by DC Comics for months upon months upon months, and now they're finally talking about it, and they're not really mentioning what Tom Taylor's doing in Superman Son of Kal-El and how these two things are going to cross over. Obviously, Jon's got some big news for his dad, Clark Kent. Clark Kent's going to be bringing some demons with him, probably from Warworld, and they're going to have some things to hash out and iron out. And it's just so weird with the Dark Crisis thing. It's hard to get my head around just how badly DC Comics has kind of goofed this up. So I do think it's interesting that they're really prioritizing. Perhaps DC Comics have finally realized we had a really quality story in this Warworld Saga. Maybe it wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but maybe if we promote it a little bit more, work with our retail partners, and let people know that there was a real high-quality story here, perhaps it would have been more successful, and Superman just in general would be in better shape. I think it's an interesting play, but they do have a lot of hurdles to overcome. Superman is in very bad shape. It really hasn't been this bad in, is it decades? It's been a really long time since Superman's sales were really this low. But we do have more information about the crossover event itself. These are some of the details that DC Comics and Phillip Kennedy Johnson have gotten out so far. According to DC, in the aftermath of the Warworld Revolution, Superman returns to Earth more powerful than he's ever been. The aftermath of the Warworld Saga also awakens an ancient and powerful enemy that will require the whole super family to face. Superman and Steel also join forces to remake Metropolis as a true city of tomorrow, which gets the notice of two of Superman's most iconic villains. This is what Phillip Kennedy Johnson had to add to that. What we did for Mongol with Warworld Saga, we're doing for Metallo in Kal-El Returns. Metallo might be my favorite Superman villain, and I think he's often overlooked in lieu of the more godlike characters like Mongol or Darkseid. Certainly some very interesting details in there. If there's one complaint I think that Superman fans, or maybe DC fans, or maybe just comic book fans have in general, I don't think it's that Superman isn't powerful enough. I think him coming back powered up, if he's not evil, or if there hasn't been something that's changed about his morality or something, which certainly could come into play. Obviously, he's experienced a very traumatic event with the liberation of Warworld and all the slaves and whatnot. But if he just comes back more powerful, it doesn't really make sense. Why would you power up like the most powerful character that never loses as it is? Maybe if he came back with less powers, which kind of is hinted at in the Warworld Saga itself, they're going a different direction. But with that piece of information, it definitely indicates to me that something has likely happened to Clark Kent himself, or the new villains or whatever that they're introducing are far more powerful than any villains we've ever seen in DC Comics, but I don't think is absolutely necessary. As far as Superman and John Henry Iron Steel getting together, I am all for it. That is a cool character that has just been wasted for years and years and years. I am all for him coming in here, becoming part of the Superman family, and being spotlighted a lot more than he has in the past. I don't want to see him remain in either of the series. After that, give him his own miniseries or do something where he can stand on his own. He doesn't need to be sitting in the background. John Henry Irons is a really cool character that can do a lot of things, and he doesn't need to be hampered down by somebody else's story. They should do something with John Henry Irons, so I'm for that. As far as Metallo, cool character. He's not my favorite villain. I like him more than Mongol, but I certainly prefer Lex Luthor, Darkseid, and some of the other more classically famous Superman villains. But I'm interested to see where this goes. I'm certainly a Phillip Kennedy Johnson supporter. I think he has had some misses here and there, but for the most part, his Action Comics has really delivered some really good stories. Hopefully they can iron some things out with this crossover and get some genuine interest in Superman Son of Kal-El as well as Action Comics. There's no reason Superman Son of Kal-El should be in the 60s, and there's no reason Action Comics should be outside the top 100. DC Comics should be embarrassed with their publicity efforts and marketing and stuff like that. These characters deserve better, so Superman Clark Kent is finally returning to Earth. We're going to have some discussions between him and his son, and it should make for some interesting stuff. Hopefully they can do something to get people back into Superman right now. Unfortunately for the editors in the Superman office, they have a lot of work to do. They are in a bad place right now. It's not all their fault. I imagine they didn't hire Brian Michael Bendis. They probably didn't greenlight everything that he did. I imagine he kind of got carte blanche, but really, Brian Michael Bendis did so much damage to Jon Kent, Clark Kent, the entire Superman family. They're still reeling from the destruction that Brian Michael Bendis brought onto the title with the characters. I don't know if Tom Taylor and Phil Kennedy Johnson have it in them to fix this, but certainly they're trying. Definitely check out what Bendis did, because this was awful.